Yo, what is up guys? Fer here, and today we're going to be talking about the 7 new Admiral level Vice Admirals. Now I know those two terms don't really go along because most of the time Vice Admirals for the most part in One Piece usually get one shot or something. So far there isn't a lot of strong Vice Admirals in the show. The only few I can name would be Virgo, Momonga, and maybe Oniguma, but that's pretty much it. Oda hasn't really done a good job expanding on these guys. Oda uses them mostly for hype tools in the situations where Oda wants one character to shine. He lets the Vice Admiral get wrecked to show the difference in power for said individual. A good example would be Sabo and how he wrecked Bastille with ease. That fight was a complete wash if you think about it. And the Admirals are really the only ones that are worth something in the Navy. That brings me to the new Vice Admirals. Now this is a theory, so don't take it as facts. From this point on, it's like headcanon with a lot of facts and evidence to support my claims. First of all, let's start off with Jinbei. Now during the events of Fishman Island, and when Jinbei was telling the Straw Hats about the events that happened in the last 2 years while they were out, one of them was Blackbeard gaining more power and becoming a Yonko after his fight against Marco and the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates, while the other was Akainu becoming the fleet admiral of the Marines and the Navy becoming the strongest they've ever been in history. He also mentioned something about the Navy gaining unexpected powers. Now at first glance, once Fujitora was introduced, I originally thought they were talking about the admirals that were drafted to replace the missing powers that the Navy lost. In this case, Aokiji leaving the Marines and Akainu moving up the ranks to fleet admiral. That left 2 admiral spots empty, and that's when we heard about Green Bull and Fujitora. But the fact that they also said that this is a time where the Navy is at its strongest means that it has to be much more than that. We had 3 admirals pre-time skip, and people weren't hyping the Marines to this extent, which brings me to the belief that it's a lot more than just Fujitora and Green Bull joining the Marines. Also, Akainu took it upon himself to move the Navy headquarters into the New World to tussle against the Yonkos, which could mean that they might not have been that strong enough to do so before, but now they have acquired the manpower to do so. This gave Akainu the chance to make a move, and obviously the military draft played a huge role in this. In this case, Fujitora and Green Bull were drafted, but is that really all there is to that? What about other individuals that could have been close to that admiral level but couldn't get that position because it was already taken, or because Fujitora and Green Bull were just stronger candidates? We have to remember that the Navy can only have 3 admirals at a set time, and so I think there is a chance that there are people in the Navy that were chosen from the draft that could be very strong. Now I don't think they're going to be as strong as the admirals we know, such as Fujitora and Aokiji and all of those guys, but somewhere in between the level of Vice Admiral and Admiral level. This would be the Yonko commander equivalent of the Marines, because I personally feel like the gap between the Vice Admiral and the Admiral is way too big, and the gap should be a lot closer. And if you think about it, the Admirals were introduced a bit too early in the story given how strong they've proven themselves to be. Like, instead of making Aokiji show up in the Davy Back fight, in the Davy Back arc to fight Luffy on the island, they could have literally sent a Vice Admiral and they would still get low diffed by him, because in terms of strength, Luffy or any of the Straw Hats at that point in time were not even comparable to a Vice Admiral like Virgo. Talk more about Aokiji, who's on a different level. So I definitely feel like the top tier Vice Admiral should be at a level that is beneath the Admiral level, with a decent gap but nothing too far. As I said before, these guys would be the Yonko commander equivalent for the Marines. So with this, I think we may get some of these guys, some of these individuals in the future. Now there are 2 individuals that come to mind, and that is Momosugi and Chanton. Just like the Admirals, they have code names that are based off real Japanese actors. They were also shown in Film Gold as background characters, going by the name of Peach Rabbit and Brown Pig respectively. Now while these characters aren't technically canon, I feel like there is a chance that they might show up in the real story to sort of put more of a highlight on the term Vice Admiral, because at this point they haven't proven themselves to be impressive, except for Virgo, who is still one of my favorite characters. Now as for the 7 new Vice Admirals, I think there's going to be 7 of them. Now there's a reason why I chose 7 specifically, and it has to do with things in the story that correlates perfectly with it. Now the original Admirals are based off the tale of Momotaro, which is a story of a boy that is followed by a dog, a bird / pheasant, and a monkey, which are animals that represent Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru. But the animals themselves are taken from the 12 Zodiacs. Currently we have the dog, who is Akainu, the monkey, Kizaru, the bird / pheasant, lion is Aokiji, the tiger is Fujitora, and the bull is Green Bull. That leaves the remaining 7 animals, which I think will be used as a representation for these new Vice Admirals. We already have the rabbit and the pig, and that's Momosagi and Chanton, and then the 5 other animals would be for the new ones we haven't seen yet. Now I have no idea what colors they would be associated with, but that would essentially be the color scheme of their devil fruit power, just like the admirals. For example, Momosugi has the color of peach, which could be like a cherry blossom devil fruit power, like Byakuya's Senbon Zakura from Bleach, and Chanton, who is brown pig, could have like a mud, earth related devil fruit power. Now these are just examples. It could be anything, given how creative Oda is, but the color 100% of the time would be the color scheme of their power. Now let's backtrack a little bit. So apart from the 7 new Vice Admirals being based off the 7 remaining Zodiac animals that Oda hasn't used yet, the other reason I chose 7 is because of the Shichibukai, the 7 warlords. Now I made a theory a while back saying Akainu wants to make the navy self-sufficient, meaning they won't need the help of the warlords to counteract the forces of the Yonko. He wants the marines to be strong enough to hold their ground, and we also know that Fujitora's main goal is the abolishment of the Shichibukai system, something that Akainu would agree on, as he does have a state for the marines needing the help of pirates. Now the problem with the whole abolishment of the system is that if that happens, there would be an imbalance of power in the world, as the navy doesn't have the same power it had, to counteract the forces of the Yonko. But with the 7 new Vice Admirals, that wouldn't happen, as they would be the individuals to replace that power, with these guys being on that Yonko commander level, or even some of them being stronger than others. The 7 Zodiac animals replaces the 7 warlords, who also have animal themed names. Personally, I feel like it adds up so well with everything that's going on. There's going to be a time in the story where the 3 admirals aren't going to be enough to deal with every single thing that's going to happen. They're going to need all the manpower they can get. These guys could be the special division of the marines that have special roles to play, and they should also put back some hype on the rank of the Vice Admiral, which they never had in the first place. And if you think about it, there's no way we had this massive draft that more than likely involved a huge amount of people in the hundreds of thousands, and Fujitora and the Green Bulls are the only individuals that are strong. It doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't be surprised if the navy is now filled with a bunch of strong characters or people that have potential, like Kobe, sort of like the worst generation of the marines, something like that. And a good way to introduce these guys would be a Buster Call, which is said to be the strongest military action. Now we had Buster Calls in the series before, with the 5 admirals showing up to decimate an entire island. Now that looks impressive in Paradise, seeing as pirates there aren't that strong, but the new world is a different case, seeing as pirates here are strong and are usually under the name of a Yonko's crew. So I feel like the Buster Call in the new world should be on a whole different level, and these 7 Vice Admirals that I've been talking about would fill that role. Imagine 7 Yonko commander level individuals showing up in one island. That would even give a Yonko's crew a hard time. And with the whole events of Whole Cake, where people have this idea that since Big Mom's crew and her territories have taken a big hit, the marines might take this chance to target a Yonko, especially with Akainu as fleet admiral. And if this special division were to show up as the leading force of the Buster Call, I'm not gonna lie, that would be really hype. But that's pretty much it, guys. What do you think about this idea slash theory? Comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. It is Ferro, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.